First of all, I want to thank all of you who have watched and shared the story of stuff. People often come up to me and ask, how can I make a viral film? Or, congratulations on making a viral film. I said, no, I made a film. The community made it viral. Let's be very clear about that. If it were not for you watching and sharing and spreading it around, no one would have seen it. So I come with enormous gratitude for all of you sharing it. For those, some of you might not know, we now actually have 7 films. They are all available to watch for free. We use a Creative Commons license. Everything is free at storyofstuff.org. If you are not yet on our list, please sign up, and we'll let you know when we make new films as well at storyofstuff.org. Now, we realize that we're going into our lunch hour because we restarted late. So if you do need to leave for lunch, just please do so quietly. I personally do not need lunch because I feel like today is like a better world buffet. We have this incredible smorgasbord of offerings here for us, so I feel enormously nourished. There's something for everybody here. On the sort of bad news side of the table, we have peak oil and big box mania and unjust economics and deforestation and toxic chemicals and despair and apathy. So if that's what turns you on, there's plenty there. The good news is that there is good news. And on the good news side of the table, we have local economies and personal empowerment, the gift economy. We have better businesses. We have Bali. We have rethinking education, better food, better communities. We have the power of Occupy, the power of nonviolence, and the power of love. Now, who needs lunch if you've got all of that? To me, those incredible solutions just are so nourishing and mouth-wateringly delicious. What is not to like about that? But given the seriousness of the problems, and given the availability and abundance of solutions, I am left wondering why we're losing. Even though lots and lots of good work is happening, thanks to the people in this room and others like us around the world, there's so much good work happening. But we have to get current with reality, which is that on a lot of environmental and a lot of social fronts, the trajectory is bad. So why is that when there's so many things that we could do better? It's not rocket science. We absolutely could build economies that are safe, that are healthy, that are fair and fun. So why are we not? So I wonder, is it that people don't know? Is it that people don't care? I feel like this is a trap environmentalists have gotten into for so long. We're convinced that the truth will set us free. And if people only knew, they would care. So we wave our charts and graphs around. And we say, look at our chart and graphs. And when people don't respond, we're like, I'll commission a new study and show you a new chart and graph. And the truth will not set us free, because if it would set us free, we would be free. Because we have the data to show that there's serious problems and we could do things better. And you know what? People do actually know. All of that education campaign for so long has worked. It turns out that actually the vast majority of people know that we've got an environmental problem. The vast majority of people want the world to be more fair. They value fairness and kindness. Most people actually want a clean environment and safe energy and healthy jobs. I think that's really important, because sometimes we feel like a marginalized fringe Berkeley Broward Center minority here. Like there's some little tiny, but this is like the bubble inside the bubble inside the bubble here at the Broward Center auditorium. So and we don't see our values reflected in mainstream culture, so it's easy to feel like we are a minority. But we are not a minority. We are the majority of the people. We honestly are the 99%, or very close. We are the 90% of Americans who think that corporations have too much power in our democracy. That's 90%. We are the 74% of Americans who believe, or not everybody's here American, I understand, but I am part of the 74% of Americans who want stricter regulations on toxic chemicals in our products. I and many of you are part of the 73% of Americans who support the EPA's ability and authority to mandate cuts in carbon from utilities and big industrial polluters. Those are really, really high numbers. Those are high enough numbers to make change. I was looking at some of the social movements in history to see what kinds of support they had. They would have died for those numbers. I mean, that's a lot of people. That's higher than the abolitionists had fighting slavery. It's higher than the suffragettes had fighting for women to get the right to vote. It's higher than the civil rights movement had. Do you know when Martin Luther King gave his I Had a Dream speech? He had 30% approval. 30% of people in this country cared for him. He just kept going. The reason they won is that 30% got active and did stuff. We have enough people to make some serious change. So what is the problem? There's really bad problems, there's really good solutions, and the vast majority of people share our values and concerns. What's the obstacle here? I believe it is that we are forgetting how to make change. We are forgetting what making change means. I'm going to tell you how I realized this. The Story of Stuff came out about 4.5 years ago, and since that time I've traveled all over the country screening the film. And for those of you who've seen it, you know it lays out a pretty broad critique and set of problems, right? The people in this room, I'm sure, when you saw it, you could immediately think of things to do. But at talk after talk after talk that I go to, when I show the Story of Stuff film, the number one question I get, and the number one question we get in our inbox every single day, is what can I do? And so I used to say, well, you can fight garbage incinerators, and you can plant a community garden, and I'd like run through all these things you could do, but the questions kept coming. So I started wondering, what are people thinking? So I turned it back to the audiences all across the country. I've been in, like literally all places I didn't even know existed in this country in the last 4.5 years. When I turned it back on them and said, what can you think of doing? The answer was very, very consistent. I can recycle. I can buy organic. I can ride a bike. I can compost. I can buy a clothesline. I can carry my own bag to the store. I can stop buying bottled water. And on and on and on. Now, those are very, very good things to do. I do not want to disrespect that. I do all of them. I have a gray water system and a solar-powered car, and I use a clothesline. I'm totally into that stuff. I hope you guys all do those too. Those are very, very good things to do. They're good because they support businesses that are doing right. They're good because they demonstrate that there are other ways to do things. Probably the most important value of those things is they align our actions and our values so that we are in a place of greater integrity and authenticity from which to enter the world. So even though those are very, very good things to do, those are not about working together to make collective systemic transformational change. Those fall in the category of responsible adult hygiene and household maintenance. It's like, you floss your teeth, you carry your own bag to the store. You wash your hands after you use the toilet, you buy organic. We're kind of past the point where we get extra credit for that. Those are like basic functions. So I have come to realize that all of us have two different parts of ourselves. It's like almost like two different muscles. We have a consumer part and a citizen part. And that consumer part of ourself is really well exercised. And it is the primary way that we are communicated to and called upon to show up throughout the day. Many, many times in the day, we are related to and communicated to as a consumer. So much that the words consumer and human being have become interchangeable in much of the media. So our consumer muscle is really overdeveloped, and our citizen muscle has atrophied. We're trained in being consumers from day one. I'm sure you've seen all these studies where children are asked to identify logos. They can identify more corporate logos than local plants. We adults can identify more corporate logos than elected officials. We know where to get any trendy gadget, but we don't know where our city councils meet. I realized this recently when any of you who have preteen kids, remember the stupid webkin craze? These like stupid stuffed animals that everybody had to have? So some mother, a friend of mine, called me up and said, do you know where to get webkins? And I thought, you know what is so sad? I do know where to get webkins. I do know where to get webkins, and I don't know how to get a goddamn stop sign on that Gilman Street intersection, which needs a stoplight. It's terrifying to drive on that thing. It's our consumer part has taken over. The danger with that is that we know how to be consumers. We're good at it, it's familiar, and there's a problem that we risk misdiagnosing or misrecognizing that taste of familiarity with it being a good thing. And so when we are faced with problems as enormous as disruption of the global climate, as enormous as infants now being born with 250 toxic chemicals already in their blood, as enormous as 1 out of 5 kids in this incredibly wealthy country going to bed hungry, the best we can think of is ride a bike and carry our own bag to the store. So this kind of thinking is really reinforced with these constant little 10 simple things you can do lists. You've all seen them 10 simple things you can do to save the planet. I did just see a magazine the other day in a shop that said 6 ways to save the world. I was like, oh, it's gotten easier. It's only 6. And there actually is a book out, I swear to God, it's called How to Save the World Without Leaving Your House. That's dumb. The first thing you should do is leave your house. That's so dumb. So the problem is that these individual lifestyle changes are not commensurate with the scale of the problem. Even if we could get everyone to do them, which we cannot, it simply doesn't add up to enough. Plus we become an enormous nag and people stop inviting us to parties. But even worse, this focus on what we can do differently in the supermarket and in our kitchen It distracts us from the much tougher but much more important discussion about what we need to do different in our country, in our society, in our businesses, in the rules that govern how we run things. It misses the structural drivers of today's environmental and social problems. And it misses the real source of power, which is not as consumers, but as citizens working together for big, bold, transformative change. You know what it is like? It is like perfecting our ability to swim upstream when the current of society and economy is going the other way. It is exhausting and we will never get everyone to join us. We need to work together to change the current. So I have come to believe that whatever issue we want to work on, whatever turns us on, and there is a smorgasbord of offerings, it is crucial that we all include an element in that reignites and energizes our citizen muscle. We have got to bring back the idea of working together collectively for systemic change. There's 3 reasons why I think it is so important to engage as citizens. One is it is by engaging as citizens, it is by struggling together to make change that we exercise that citizen muscle, that we learn to make change, and that we ultimately build the power to win. And this is about winning. This is not a theoretical exercise in the merits of active citizenship. This is about winning and transforming our economy to be sustainable and healthy and fair, and we will stop at nothing short of that. The second reason why it's so important to engage as a citizen is that it reinvigorates our democratic systems and structures and processes. It is not just our physical infrastructure, our roads and bridges that have been decayed from lack of care in this country. It is our democratic processes and systems. They have been hijacked by corporations. We need to get the corporations out of our democracy, and we need to get the people back in so that we can reinvigorate them. If we reinvigorate our democratic processes, not only will we win what we want to win, but we will leave more responsive and accountable systems for the next generation of activists who come behind us with what they're fighting for. There's a bumper sticker that I often see in Berkeley that says to thank the labor unions for the weekends. Well, I feel like future generations will thank the engaged citizens for wresting back our consumer-crazed culture and our corporate money-marinated democracy so that it actually can work for, by, and of the people once again. And then the final reason that I believe we should all participate as engaged citizens, and this is a reason that all of you improve here, is that it is by working together collectively as engaged citizens that we build community, that we gain meaning, fulfillment, joy, happiness, and even friends. Working together feeds our soul. I know this from my own experience. It is what allows me to bounce out of bed every morning with joy in spite of the empirical evidence indicating joy might not be merited. I still bounce out of bed every day full of joy because of the community that I have working on this. But it's not just my own experience. There is a whole range of academic studies that have really researched this. There's emerging fields of happiness science, and it turns out that what actually makes us happy is not a new iPhone or a new car, even if it is a Prius. What actually makes us happy is very consistent across age groups, ethnicities, income levels, once your basic needs are met. If you don't have a roof and food and basic needs, you need more stuff. But once your basic needs are met, it's not stuff. It's having leisure time with friends and family, having community. It's having a sense of purpose and meaning in your life. It's working together with others towards shared goals. Being an active citizen provides all those things. So how fortuitous is that? The very thing we need to transform our economy to be sustainable and fair is also that which makes us happy. You know, I'm not saying every minute of it is fun and happy. There are frustrating times. Sometimes city council meetings are boring. It's hard. Sometimes we feel like we will never win. But overall, being an engaged citizen is a rich way to live. Paul Hawkins says, it is not a way to get rich, it is a way to be rich. So we need to keep that in mind because we need to reframe the getting involved. It is not about come over here and we'll all be eco-martyrs and eat cardboard tasting veggie sandwiches and nag at each other for not taking a bag to the store. It is about come over here and we will live rich, meaningful lives, and we will transform our economy to be better for everyone. And this is actually the topic of our next film because we get so many requests saying, what can I do? Our next film is called The Story of Change, and it is a call to move beyond the individual green consumption lifestyle changes, as important as those are, to to move beyond and aim bigger, higher, and collectively to struggle for more systemic change. I have a sign-up sheet I'm going to pass around. The only way our films get around is from people like you sharing them. So if you would like to be one of our distribution partners to help get this film out, please sign that sign-up sheet, and wherever they end up, if someone can just make sure they get to me, that would be great, because we could not do this without all of you. Thank you so much.